What's up, guys? V Productions, another trifecta. It is Sunday, March 14th. The brackets are out. I'm at an undisclosed location because Ian is sleeping, Taxi's eating dinner, and there's nowhere else I can be, so I'm in hiding. But much research. So what are we going to do? We're going to talk about the trifecta, the early predictions. I'm going to go through all of the games in much more detail, but not now. I'm going to give you my initial thoughts, big picture, because this is what we're thinking about. You got to do the digging in the next couple of days. But initially, let's talk about it. For those of you who know, I have a PhD in bracketology. I've won many a tournament with whether it's 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people. Golden nuggets of information, calling those bracket busters, those upset specials, you name it. Before Gonzaga was Gonzaga, I was all up on Gonzaga. When teams like Purdue were losing, Syracuse were losing, Kansas were losing, Arizona back in the day, upset specials. Penn was winning, when Princeton was winning, you name it, all the Ivy League schools, whatever was going on. But then you also have the horrible games that just beat you up time and time again. If you remember Arizona losing that year as a 3 with Salim Stoudemire, Channing Frye, that collapse to Illinois with Darren Williams and D. Brown and Luther Head and company. I had Arizona. That was an awful game. If you saw a couple years ago, Houston with Rob Gray as point guard playing Michigan, that ended up going to the finals, and Poole hit that half-court shot when Houston should have won that, and Houston would have won damage, much damage in the tournament. So you get yours, but then you get hit because March Madness makes no excuses for anyone. It comes after everyone. But let's go through it, big picture, based on, we're not going to have any three legs. We're just going to go to three legs are combined into one. As I said, subscribe, like, comment, reply, give me your thoughts. We're going to talk about all of it. We'll see what the spreads are on the lines. That's always good, the future bets. But let's talk about the West region first. Big picture, guys. So what do we got? Gonzaga as the number 1 seed. When I look at this, Gonzaga probably has the easiest path as a 1 seed to get to the Final Four. I don't see how anyone's going to beat them. This team, guys, if you see, they are, as I said before, they're locked and loaded. They're deep. They're well coached. Just because they're not a blue blood in a crazy conference with lots of competition, they're loaded, guys, and they shoot better than anybody. I don't see them having a bad night. They're going to have to hit, a awful night. It's just not going to happen. But if we look at the West, big picture, real quick, Cliff Notes version, Gonzaga is going to win that version. Oklahoma, Missouri. I love Oklahoma. I'm not a fan of Missouri. Creighton against UC Santa Barbara. Creighton, guys. Everyone's high on Creighton in the Big East. I'm not a fan. I think they're limping in. They've had coach problems when they suspended him for what he said, inappropriate comments. I'm calling that as the 5-12. We'll talk about that later. I'll do some more research. UC Santa Barbara. I think anybody that loses this late by 30 points to Georgetown, are you kidding? They put up 48 points. I think there's a blueprint. I didn't like it. UC Santa Barbara is going to win that game. Virginia, Ohio. Virginia had the COVID. Ohio's coming in. The last time a 13 seed made it to the Sweet 16 was Ohio. This one's going to be an interesting one. Virginia does not score a lot. Ohio's a good team. They've been there before. I think Ohio's going to win that. Every year, it seems there's a 12 and 13 that match up against each other in the tournament. I think this could be it. Again, these are my early thought Cliff Notes version, but I really like Ohio. I'm not a fan of Virginia. That would be interesting. Then you got Wichita State, Drake, two teams that are really good. I think Wichita State's going to win that one, go up against USC. USC head coach used to be Florida Gulf Coast coach a couple years ago, more than a couple years ago, back in Philadelphia when the tournament was there. Florida Gulf Coast went crazy, beating up on Georgetown and San Diego State. I think USC is going to beat Drake in that first round game, maybe more damage. Kansas, East Washington. Kansas is all beat up with the COVID, but they play way too good defense. They're going to win that game. I don't know by how many. I'm curious to see the line. Kansas, I think, wins that game. Oregon, VCU. If you saw my picks, I love VCU, guys. I love them. But I didn't think they would be playing Oregon in the first round. Oregon is nasty, guys. They are great. They've had nothing but injury problems, but they're back. So they're based on the team that they had before. They're not based on the team they got now because they have no games with that. I think Oregon wins this game easily. It's a bad matchup for VCU. And then Iowa, Grand Canyon. Give me Iowa all day. So what do we have? Gonzaga, Oklahoma. I think Gonzaga wins that game easily. Then you got UC Santa Barbara against Ohio. Oh, man, I would go Ohio to the Sweet 16. Let's keep it going because history always repeats itself. The 13 seed. Then you got USC, Kansas. Tino Mobley's son from the area, Mobley Jr. going up against Kansas. Florida Gulf Coast coach does it at USC. I think USC, the 6th seed, upsets Kansas, who's falling apart too. USC, seed 6, gets to the Sweet 16. Then you got Oregon going up against Iowa. Oh, man, that's a tough one for Iowa, but Iowa with Luke Garza and too much size. I like what Iowa does. I'm going to go with Iowa. So what is it? The Final Four in the West region, Gonzaga. You have Ohio, USC, and Iowa. So I would say Gonzaga easily beats Ohio to get to the Elite Eight. And then I would say Iowa beats USC because I love Garza. So then you got Gonzaga and Iowa. I love Iowa, but Gonzaga is too much. Gonzaga easily goes to the Final Four. So that's what we say. Early picks. We'll have much more detail as we go through the matchups and the lines later this week. Let's go to the East. Michigan wins their first game. LSU, St. Bonaventure. This is a great game that everybody's talking about, guys. LSU, they run 10 deep. They play great offense. They play zero defense. The Bonnies, they're not deep at all. They play insane defense. They keep it low scoring, but I think LSU is just too athletic for the Bonnies. I love the game. It's going to be so entertaining to watch. I think it's going to be close, but I think LSU wins by a bucket. I'd go with LSU. Love the game. Colorado, Georgetown, this 5-12. Oh, early thoughts, picks, guys. What would I do? Oh, my God. Georgetown, Patrick Ewing, the Buzz, they're beating through everyone. They were like 12-13, 13-12. They were not getting in. Then they went through a beat-up Big East, but they shoot the ball better than everybody. Colorado played a bunch of easy, weak schools just to beef up their resume, but they do have a point guard that's as good as maybe Chauncey Billups back in the day, who I saw in Utah last year, if you saw that. Oh, I think I'd go with Georgetown to win this one. It'll be close, but Georgetown has a 12-5 upset. Florida State in their 4-13. I love Florida State in that matchup. BYU going up against Michigan State or UCLA. Michigan State now, they've had injury concerns. They play good defense. Izzo's the man. He's always prepared. I would go Michigan State beats UCLA, and I'm not impressed by BYU. I would go Michigan State as the 11, upsets the 6 BYU. Texas should advance against Albion Christian. They should win Albany, whatever you call them. It doesn't matter because they're not going to be there. Texas wins that 3-14. Connecticut, Maryland. Danny Hurley's a good coach, whatever he does, and they have their best player back. When he's back, they do not lose. Connecticut wins that game, guys, in the 7-10. And Alabama, Iona. Patino's taking Iona there, but Alabama's got some good horses, guys. They're not going to lose. So you got Alabama advancing. Then you got, this is when it gets crazy. Again, early thoughts. Michigan, LSU. I love LSU. I think Michigan, Livers is banged up. I'm not a fan of Juwan Howard's coaching. I told you before, they lost to 30 by Illinois. It's not going to happen. LSU pulls off the upset. I think they saved their best game for here. LSU pulls off the upset. Number 1 goes down second round. LSU wins that. Then you got Georgetown, Florida State. Florida State's too big. They're too well coached. They run too deep. Leonard Hamilton's going to show Patrick Ewing how it's done. Florida State wins that game. Michigan State then, after beating BYU, they play Texas. Shaka Smart's defense, too many athletic guys, too much of a system, too much for Michigan State. Texas should win. And then Alabama, oh man, their coach I love from Buffalo's done a great job going up against Danny Hurley's Connecticut team. Oh, it's so good. Alabama looks so good. Early on thoughts. I got to look at this and see what these lines would tell me. I'm going to go with Connecticut pulling off the upset against Alabama. Danny Hurley is such a good coach, and if as long as their best players playing, I think they pull off the major upset. So we got the Final Four in the East. It is blown up. You have LSU going up against Florida State. You have Texas going up against Connecticut. I would say Florida State beats LSU to get to the Elite Eight, and then I would say Connecticut loses to Texas. Shaka Smart finally does it in Texas to get to the Elite Eight. So you're looking at Texas playing Florida State, and then who's going to the Final Four? Leonard Hamilton, I'm sorry. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. I would have to say early on, I'm going with Shaka. I love what he's done. I think he's finally got the squad. I'm going Texas, Final Four. So what did I say? Gonzaga as the 1, Texas as the 3. They would match up in the Final Four. And then you have Gonzaga beating Texas to go to the championship. But let's look at the other side of the bracket real quick. Baylor, they advance against a 16. Oh, in the South, guys. 8-9, North Carolina, Wisconsin. North Carolina is peaking at the right time. They are physical and big. They can't shoot a lick, but if they do get hot, because of how big they are and physical, they're going to be tough for anyone to beat them. I think Wisconsin is average at best and nothing impressive. I think North Carolina wins as the 8. It'll be interesting. Villanova, Winthrop, 5-12. Everybody and their grandmother that knows nothing is saying Winthrop's going to beat Villanova because Gillespie's injured and they lost another guy. I'll tell you what, Georgetown is beating through everybody, right? They barely beat Villanova without those guys. Villanova might be doing just okay. The more I think about it, I think Villanova is going to win this game. I think they'll get one. I love Winthrop. It's a shame. I'll have to look back and forth, but early on, I think I'm going to pick Villanova to win one game. Maybe they win by a couple points. Purdue, North Texas. Purdue should win that one pretty easily. Texas Tech, 6-11 game. Utah State, I love. It's a tough matchup against Texas State and that Texas Tech and that defense. I go Texas Tech. Arkansas, Colgate. Come on, Colgate plays great offense. Arkansas does the same thing. They just got better players, more athletic, more NBA type bodies. Arkansas wins that game pretty easily. Florida, Virginia Tech. I'll tell you what, I just think Florida's been too inconsistent, so I'll go with Virginia Tech. Ohio State, they looked great against Illinois in the championship game. I'd go Ohio State. So then the final 8 in the South, Baylor, North Carolina. Oh, I'll tell you what, North Carolina, they're physical, they're big. I think they're going to be ready for Baylor. They're going to give them their best shot. And another one goes down, not just Michigan. I think Baylor loses to North Carolina. North Carolina gets to the Sweet 16. Look back to your history, guys. The Almanac, 1999. North Carolina was an 8 or 9. They made it to the Final Four. Who knows what's going to happen? Then you got Villanova against Purdue. Purdue's a much better team than Winthrop. I think Purdue beats Villanova pretty easily, and that's when Villanova's season ends due to injury. Texas Tech going up against Arkansas. I would say Arkansas wins that as the 3 seed, and then Virginia Tech, Ohio State. I love Ohio State. Keep it going. Big Ten, Ohio State gets in. So who's the Final Four in the South? North Carolina and Purdue. Arkansas, Ohio State. I would say, oh man, what's going to happen? I'll tell you what, guys, I got to look at this again. We'll see what the lines are. I would say the 8 seed North Carolina beating Purdue to get to the Elite 8. The 8 getting to the 8. Are you kidding me? And then Ohio State beats Arkansas. Elite 8 game, North Carolina against Ohio State. Ohio State's way too balanced for North Carolina. Ohio State wins. They go to the Final Four. So what are we talking of the 3? Gonzaga has a 1. Ohio State has a 2. Texas has a 3. How about that? And then let's go to the Midwest. Illinois against local Drexel. Illinois will win that easily. 8-9 Loyola against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech won their conference. Loyola is playing really solid, small school. They're better than the Final Four team from a couple years ago. Give me Loyola Chicago. I think they're going to do it. Pastner, he's got a good coaching system. It's just not enough athletes. I like Loyola winning that game. Tennessee, Oregon State. Oregon State's limping in. Tennessee, if they're playing well, they're going to win. I think Tennessee, 5-12. Tennessee should win. Oklahoma State, Liberty. Everyone loves Cade Cunningham, guys. Oak State is great. Liberty was on everybody's list as a super sleeper. This is a tough matchup for them. They're just not going to do it. Unless Oklahoma State lays a major egg, which I doubt, there's no way Liberty has a chance. I'd go Oklahoma State. San Diego State in the 6 against Syracuse. Everyone says that Syracuse zone Boeheim defense screws everyone up. You're forgetting, guys. San Diego State is solid. I get what Syracuse does. I don't think they're a good team this year. I know this is a history repeats itself. Always Boeheim has this team, always the same. But I really think San Diego State wins this game easily. I'm not concerned. West Virginia, Morehead State. That scares me a little bit, guys. But I think Bob Huggins, again, too much. I think West Virginia wins. Clemson, Rutgers. I don't want to repeat myself. I love Rutgers in this game. I hate to say it. Rutgers will win. And then you got Houston as a 2. So the 8 that keep going in the Midwest. Illinois would play Loyola, and Illinois is going to win that game. Tennessee would play Oklahoma State. Oh, that's a good one, too. I would go Oklahoma State. I think they're just too good. They're peaking. And then San Diego State, West Virginia. I love San Diego State, guys. I'm telling you, do not sleep on them. The 6 seed San Diego State, they're going to beat West Virginia. Bob Huggins just can't get it going. And then Rutgers, Houston. Houston will win that easily. So then we're left in the Final Four in the Midwest. You got Illinois, Oklahoma State, San Diego State, and Houston. So Illinois, Oklahoma State. Illinois is just too good. I love them. I love their coach, love their defense. Illinois wins there in a great game. And then San Diego State has a 6 going up against Houston. I love Houston. So Houston's going to win that. So you got the 1-2, Illinois against Houston. So what's going to happen there? Man, I'll tell you what. Early on, I'm just thinking it. I love Houston. You know what I've been saying. I'm going to say Houston pulls off the upset as the 2 and beats Illinois. So that would give me a Final Four of Gonzaga playing against Texas, and Gonzaga wins to go to the championship against, in the other side, the 2, Ohio State in the South, playing the 2 in the Midwest, Houston. Ohio State, Houston. Oh, what do you do? What do you do? If you have a gun to my head early on, I'll tell you what, guys. I love Houston. I think they're loaded. I go Houston. So when I look at it, Gonzaga, Houston in the championship, and that's where it ends for Houston. Gonzaga would win. So that's what we got, guys. That's an early breakdown of everything. The Nuggets, the Cinderella teams. What are you going to do? The sleepers. Super early on. We'll see what happens. We're going to analyze the regions and the games with the lines because it's all about the parlays and the future bets. But that's my early thoughts. It's going to change right after the brackets come out. We'll talk to you later Sunday night. V Productions, Trifecta, guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow.